Hey guys, sorry got caught running late on this going live thing, so I'm actually running through a Buddhist temple that's actually a museum now. Let me get outside, 1 second. Okay, so I'm in beautiful little Tokyo here, right around the corner from the courthouse. A couple of things that I was told, corrected on from yesterday's live broadcast was the fact that they haven't actually gotten Pearl's jurors together yet. So I was told, just informed today that the jurors are not actually picked out for Pearl. I thought that they were, but they're not. So it's only, the jurors right now are only for Osaro, and all the other jurors will get picked out later on. There was a lot of people in court today when I got there, and I know I got there kind of late today. One of the things, there was several things that happened today. The security guard who was at the gain office and saw Gabriel and called 911. He took the stand today, and he gave his testimony. Now, one thing I gotta say about the security guard and everything about that 911 call. So as we all recall, when he called 911, he was yelled at that a little boy being battered wasn't an emergency. And we all know that now if a woman is battered, it's an emergency, and everybody treats it as such. And then they don't do that for children. Well, now, apparently, because of Gabriel, that's actually changed. So now they do take that as a serious, life-threatening event, and that is now taken seriously. So that was something that happened throughout the sheriff's department in regards to their investigation about what happened and what was done. Sorry about that. Well, like I said, this is the first time for this, so we'll see if this is going to actually work out. I'm sorry about that. So, like I said, because of Gabriel, if somebody calls 911 and sees that a child being abused or reports something happening to a child, they're now going to take it seriously. That is an emergency now. So at the point when they called for Gabriel, that was not considered an emergency, and it was considered that they needed to contact DCFS and report it through there. Now it's no longer true. The other thing was there was one of the social worker investigators who went in to testify today in regards to the falsification documentation and just the kind of stuff that went on with that. So there was that. There was also a sheriff that went in today, and the sheriff was basically there to just verify that the evidence submitted was evidence that he himself discovered and saw submitted. So that was that. The one real piece that was kind of heart-wrenching, which I've seen it before, I've heard it before, I've gone through it before, but it's still, every time, it's just kind of difficult every single time. And then, when you get new people in well, I want to call it the audience, when you get new people in the court, listening, hold on 1 second. Okay, when you get new people in the court listening to the evidence, it's always hard because they make, sounds, and you can hear them kind of weeping or kind of just concerned about what they're hearing and whatnot. But the coroner was there today, the one who did the autopsy, and he talked about, just the damage that was done to Gabriel's body from head to toe, and talking about how the difference between acute and chronic, and how acute is basically the term that they use for something that was at least within a couple of days or whatnot. But chronic is something that's weeks or months. So I've talked about this before, but they did talk about just some of the injuries that were done to Gabriel's body, and how there was the acute injuries were like his whole left side of his face from top to bottom was completely bruised and swollen. So they talked about that, and they just talked about other like damage that was done to his person. And when asked, what his conclusions were as to why Gabriel died, he talked about also how the thalamus gland that Gabriel had was basically shriveled and gone. And in children, the thalamus is actually the gland that helps with antibodies, like to help fight any sicknesses. Well, with Gabriel's, his was so far gone and dead because he was malnourished. They, when he looked at Gabriel's body, he saw that there was no fatty tissue. So Gabriel was stripped of all the fat because he was malnourished. They never fed him, and what they did feed him was not actual food. So what they talked about in court today was basically how there was no fatty tissue, and that he had pneumonia happening in his lungs and in other parts of his body. So he wasn't able to fight off any infections. And there was, other talk of stuff that was a little bit more detailed, which I won't go into. But there was, a lot of discussion and description about how the coroner went about the process of doing the autopsy, from the pictures, and we saw a lot of pictures, the pictures to the examination. So that was kind of, it was hard. It was hard to deal with. Like I said, a lot of people, there was a guy who came in who hadn't heard any of the evidence before, I guess. And as he sat there listening to some of the injuries that happened, he was kind of like making a lot of noises. The one thing that I did hope, there was a lot of people, like I said, there was a lot of people in the court, and I don't know who they were, but I kind of hope that some of them were social workers, and I hope that they were shocked enough to hear and understand that their co-workers failed Gabriel 100%. So that's the one thing that I hope, if that was them, if that's who they were, that's what I hope that they got out of it. I hope that they realized that their coworkers really screwed up, and that we're just not going to sit by and let them do this anymore. Not to any child. So that's my biggest hope. That's the only thing I can really, hope for, is that changes are happening. And like I said, I mean, it may be small, but I mean, the fact that the sheriff's department has changed some of their protocols in regards to child abuse, that's a big step. That I think that'll help to make sure that a lot of kids are safe. I hope, and maybe reports will be filed, and these things will be taken more seriously. And I think that's part of the problem, is that maybe, for whatever reason, it just wasn't taken seriously. I mean, from any department. And one of the things that they all said, they really knew how to talk to the authorities. They knew how to kind of convince them that they were, that they were okay or whatever, and try to convince them that Gabriel was hurting himself. So I don't really like the mentality. I don't completely 100% understand, because, if you look at a child and you see that there's damage, like, there's no reason why you would trust the word of somebody. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I'm not in their shoes, but the only thing I could do is hope that they all, that things change, protocols change. So, with that being said, like I said, there was the testimony from the coroner that was the hardest piece for today, and just seeing all the different pictures and damage, and again, the doctor who's the coroner, he goes, I mean, he's very detailed, and he's very, like, very, he covers himself. He likes to make sure that when he's talking about something, that he finishes it, and that he gets the chance to say exactly what he needs to say, exactly the way he needs to say it. So a lot of these specialists that have come in have been absolutely amazing. I mean, we've seen the person who analyzed DNA to this guy, you know, and they've just been like, you can understand that they know what they're talking about, and they're telling you everything that they can tell you in a factual form. There's no emotion set aside for this. It's all their data. So they're telling you their data the way it needs to come out. So, sorry, I was reading the messages. So, with that being said, I don't know. I don't know who's on tomorrow. I know we kind of cut court early today, not by much. It was like maybe 20 minutes or 30 minutes, and that was simply because they didn't want to get into another testimony and then have to break for the next day. So court resumes tomorrow at 9:30, and like I said, the biggest thing here is just the coroner's testimony in regards to the damage done to Gabriel's body. And like I said, this is not the first time I've seen that testimony, because he's also testified. I saw him testify a little bit for the social workers case, and that was interesting. The trial that's going on right now is for Aguirre. He's the boyfriend of Pearl that murdered Gabriel, the two of them. So again, the system's going to go like this. So it's going to be Aguirre first. Then after we're done with this, it looks like in December or January, we're going to be doing Pearl's mental disability hearing. And then from there, we'll be doing the social workers. At least that's what the current thing is. That they told me, the current timeline. I mean, there isn't a timeline per se. It's just the way that the way it's working out is that's how it's gonna go. So I'm hearing word that if not December, January for Pearl, and like February, March for the social workers. So hopefully we'll stay on track for that and keep this momentum going. As far as anything else, I don't know. Is there anything you guys wanted to know? Because otherwise, I'm gonna start probably day drinking. Asaro is going to be prosecuted, right? Either life or death. I think so, because at this point he's already accepted that he kind of already said that he murdered him. Are they turning against each other? Pearl and boyfriend. I don't know if they're turning against each other per se. She's definitely trying to cry as though he also did it with her. So there's that. But Asaro's definitely trying to say that he doesn't deserve the death penalty. That's basically what's going on. So they're both guilty, but what they're trying to do is avoid the death penalty, which is silly at this point, because it's not like anybody here in California actually gets put to death. I mean, it's very rare. So who else is expected to testify? Well, I know, I believe another sheriff, they brought into evidence another sheriff, detective, possibly the teacher. I'm not really sure who else. I know that they brought into light yesterday some of the documents that, like, school notes, not the school notes, but the doctor's notes. They brought that into into the testimony. So that might be something that goes on. There might be something there. But I'm not really sure who else is testifying at this point. How is Gabriel's bio father handling it, in my view? I don't know, because I don't know him and I don't talk to him. I mean, of course it's going to be painful, because, I mean, we're strangers. We're all strangers, and we're watching this, and we're crying, and we're having a hard time. So if we're having a hard time, you can just imagine. Were the law enforcement officers ever prosecuted? No, there was an internal investigation handled through the LA Sheriff's Department. Everything in the LA Sheriff's Department is pretty much on lockdown. So when something happens, they keep it within themselves. And that's why you haven't seen a prosecution or any kind of anything happen towards them, because it's hard to get those records. They keep like a really tight file. So whatever happened within the department. Like I said, changes did come. The one change, like I said, is that 911 calls, if somebody reports that they see a child in duress, that they will take better care, and that's not considered a meaningless call anymore. Is the grandfather just against the death penalty, or is he on that monster's side completely now? And where'd you go? When did he start having a heart for his sicko daughter? It's a really complicated question. He's always gone to court for her. So I don't know. I can't answer that. I don't know him. I've actually intentionally stayed away from the family. Me and Emily talked about it at the very beginning. It was because a lot of things were happening that I didn't trust, and I was a little worried about. Not worried for my safety, but just worried in regards to the way things were happening. So I kind of just stayed away. And it was a good thing I did, because I was being accused of a lot of things. And because they didn't know what I looked like, Emily was able to just laugh them off and just say, yeah, that's not her. So it was interesting. But I don't know. I don't talk to her. I mean, I don't talk to that family. So the siblings are with the paternal grandparents in Texas. Yes, they are with their paternal grandparents, and they are receiving some of the best care that we could offer. Yeah. No, I completely understand. When people, it's the thing is that this case gets you because Gabriel, you can see he was such a sweet boy, and you can imagine him being your son, and you can imagine him playing in the yard, all these things. So it's hard, because when you look at him, you see just this innocent, sweet little boy. And, me, like, I've never met him. I sit in the courtroom, and there's images that, I get, and, because I'm seeing these things and I'm hearing these things, and I just sit there and I'm just like, I can't understand it. Like, I can't understand why you would do that to a little boy. I mean, there's, like I said, we're talking about, I mean, there was, what do you say? Like, he had blood clots in his lungs from being beaten. That's not normal. That's not something that happens to a little boy. So when you hear that and you look at his picture and you look at him and you're like, no, like, how? And so that's why I said, it's hard because, I do this. I'm a mom. I never met Gabriel. I'm not related. And people say, well, you do this and I got this, and I get it, and sometimes I know I get a little, agitated, and I say, hey, well, I'm doing it too. And it's not because I'm like, I get angry with you guys. It's just because I get frustrated because I'm doing it too. Like, I don't know how else to say that, but so I understand. And I stay up sometimes nights. Like lately I've been staying up late at night just to answer messages and post things. So I get it. It's a difficult case. Do you know if Pearl is segregated in jail? I do not know. As a matter of fact, I was chatting with her attorney today. He's a very nice man. But there's nothing I can find out about Pearl. It's totally against the law, if not the Bar Association. He's not allowed to say anything about Pearl, I mean. So I'm not going to ask him anything. He's a very nice man. And, when this is all over, maybe we'll hear from them and they'll tell us what happened or, their side of the story. But I don't know. I don't know anything about Pearl. I don't even know anybody who's in women's jail. So maybe if you know somebody that's in that jail, I don't know. I don't know. Let's see. Why did you start making these videos and keep us updated? Just curious. I really appreciate it, by the way. So I started doing the videos because I thought, well, it's a little bit easier and it gives me a little bit more access to just kind of talk to you guys and not have to go through all the comments, because I will go through all the comments and I'll read them and I'll really fuss over them. And it got to a point, and me and Emily both had this at the very beginning, where we were just up all the time. We just wanted to inform everybody, and we just wanted to talk to everybody, and we just wanted to give everybody everything that we could. And it's just one of those things, like I feel so passionately about this, and I feel like not only should this not have happened, but there's so much we can do to prevent it. And that starts with you just being active, paying attention to what's going on in your neighborhood, in your family, and you're everywhere. Looking up while you're walking down the street, paying attention to your neighbors, being friendly, and really just kind of like, requesting that your government do better, do more. Because in fact, we are the people and we are the taxpayers. So they're supposed to be listening to us, not the other way around. So I do it because I'm just the type of person who wants to see change and things better for everyone. Has the governor or senator been written to about the whole nightmare? Yeah, we've actually, and that's part of the reason why I did that petition in the first place. I don't know if you saw it, but I did a petition, and it goes directly to the Board of Supervisors because it's requesting that they change something. And the thing is that unless the American people or the Californians or the Los Angelinos push for a change, they're not going to do anything. They're just hoping to sweep everything under the rug and that everybody will forget everything that they can think of. It's the same thing in politics over and over and over again. Every time, all they want to do is put band-aids on something to get somebody to shut up, stop complaining about it, and then it's the same thing the next year because nothing's actually ever getting fixed. We're just getting band-aids put. Sorry about that. But we all know that that's not how that really works. We know that, there has to be an actual overhaul, actual fix. And in this case, especially with DCFS and specifically with those that work with children, it would need to be a major overhaul from head to toe, top to bottom. It would probably have to be a whole new system generated in order to fix what's going on and replace it. Please report this live stream. What does that mean? Where were the brother and sister in all of this? They were living with Gabriel. I should look behind me. Oh my God. Where is the donkey? What does that mean? Why didn't they do anything? Because they were children. I mean, you know, children can't really, they were scared. They love their mom. They were also being abused. So it's not like, you know, it's not like, this is so weird. One second. Yeah, I see that. It was kind of one of those things, like I wasn't sure what happened at first, but now I see what's going on. It was just weird. Yeah, no problem. Like I said, I just didn't know what was going on, so it was one of those things. It was like, what? But yeah, so the kids, you know, they were abused also, so it's not like they, sorry. There we go. It's not like they were, you know, it's not like they knew what to do, because they were just children and they were being abused also, and they loved their mom, and they were trying to figure out what they could do to try to, you know, help Gabriel as much as possible, but also they were scared. So, you know, they're just children, you know. Yeah. Thank you, Nancy. Okay, guys, I think I gotta start heading out now. It's time for me to go start working and doing other things. So you guys all take care of yourselves, and I will see you sometime tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.